What if the biggest sporting event on Earth was quietly slipping away from the country that thought it owned it? Not because of war, not because of money, but because the world no longer trusts the host. That question is now hanging over the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and almost no one is talking about how serious it really is. For years, the tournament was sold as America's global showcase, a chance to prove leadership, stability, and confidence on the world stage. 11 U.S. cities, massive stadiums, billions in investment. The message was clear: the United States would be the beating heart of global football. But behind closed doors, something has shifted, and it started with a single sentence. In September 2025, cameras were rolling in Washington when Donald Trump stepped up to a podium and spoke about the World Cup. With his usual confidence, he said that if he believed any host city was unsafe, the matches would be moved somewhere else. Just like that, no consultation. No reference to FIFA rules, no acknowledgement of contracts, agreements, or global partnerships. If I think a place isn't safe, we'll move it. Those words were meant to sound strong, decisive, presidential. Instead, they triggered panic. Within minutes, social media exploded. Sports analysts froze mid-broadcast. International headlines flashed across screens from London to Tokyo. One question drowned out everything else. Can the US president actually do that? The short answer was no. But the damage didn't wait for clarification. Because the World Cup is not a political rally. It is not a domestic issue. It is not controlled by any single country. It belongs to FIFA, an organization that guards its independence fiercely, and FIFA noticed immediately. Within hours, a response came, not from a politician, but from one of the most powerful figures in global football. Victor Montagliani, FIFA vice president and head of CONCACAF, issued a statement that sounded calm on the surface but carried a clear warning underneath. Football, he said, is bigger than any nation, bigger than any government, bigger than any political slogan. Presidents come and go. The World Cup goes on. It was not an argument, it was a reminder. The tournament does not bend to political pressure. That statement alone sent another shockwave through global football, because it exposed a truth many Americans had never considered. The United States does not own the World Cup. Behind every match is a web of contracts worth billions. Broadcasting rights, sponsorship deals, security agreements negotiated years in advance, insurance policies, transportation guarantees, international law. 16 host cities across 3 countries had already been locked in. Stadiums renovated. Transit systems expanded. Hotels booked years ahead. Moving even one match would mean rewriting hundreds of agreements. No president has that power. But here's where things get uncomfortable. Even though Trump couldn't legally move games, his words created something far more dangerous than policy confusion. They created doubt. For the first time, the world started asking whether America was still a reliable host. And that question hit especially hard because the United States was supposed to be the stable one. While Washington was generating headlines, something very different was happening north of the border. In Vancouver, preparations were moving quietly and efficiently. The mayor spoke openly about the economic impact, comparing the tournament to hosting dozens of Super Bowls over a single month. Hotels prepared, transit plans finalized, security coordination locked in. No drama, no threats, no politics, just preparation. The same was true in Mexico. While America argued with itself, Canada and Mexico were doing something far more valuable in FIFA's eyes. They were building trust, and trust in global sports is everything. Because the World Cup is not just about football, it is a mirror. It reflects how the world sees the host nation, safe or unstable, open or hostile, united or fractured. Trump's comments didn't just challenge FIFA. They forced the world to look closely at America itself, and what they saw raised questions no one was prepared to answer. When politics collided with football, to understand why Trump's words mattered so much, you have to understand what the World Cup represents. It is not just a tournament. It is the single largest peaceful gathering of humanity on Earth. Millions of fans, hundreds of nations, billions of viewers. Hosting it is not an honor you demand. It is a responsibility you earn. Back in 2018, when the United States, Canada, and Mexico won the hosting rights, it was seen as a historic moment. North America, united, 3 nations sharing the spotlight, a symbol of cooperation. Ironically, it was Donald Trump himself who signed the official guarantees to FIFA back then. The document promised that athletes, fans, and officials from every country would be welcomed, regardless of nationality, religion, or background. That pledge mattered. It reassured the world that politics would stay out of football. Fast forward 7 years, and the tone had changed completely. Instead of reassurance, the world heard threats. Instead of unity, it saw division. Instead of confidence, it sensed uncertainty. International media took notice. Reports highlighted rising gun violence in the United States, with record numbers of mass shootings, ongoing protests in major cities, deep political polarization, tension between federal and local authorities. Suddenly, Trump's comments didn't sound like protection. They sounded like confirmation. If the president himself believed some host cities were unsafe, why should the world believe otherwise? Then came the visa issue. Previous World Cup hosts like Russia and Qatar had introduced fast-track entry systems. Fans could enter with little more than a ticket and passport. The US system was different, strict, slow, complicated. For many fans, attending the World Cup in America began to feel less like a celebration and more like a bureaucratic gamble. One international journalist put it bluntly: in some countries you need a ticket. In the US, you need time, money, and luck. That perception spread fast, and perception in global events becomes reality. Trump may have intended to project strength, but instead his words reinforced the idea that America was closing in on itself. And FIFA was watching closely, because FIFA does not gamble with its reputation. Inside FIFA's quiet contingency plans, publicly FIFA stayed calm. Privately, the mood shifted. Inside FIFA headquarters in Zurich, meetings took on a different tone. No speeches, no headlines, just quiet conversations among senior officials. They weren't discussing politics. They were discussing risk. The question was no longer whether Trump could move matches. The question was whether FIFA should move them. Not publicly, not dramatically, strategically. Insiders later described the discussions as operational alternatives, a technical phrase with enormous implications. It meant reviewing match allocations, stadium capacities, broadcast infrastructure, transportation reliability. In simple terms, it meant preparing a backup plan. Victor Montagliani reportedly pushed a clear message: the credibility of the World Cup matters more than any single nation's pride. When the 16 host cities were announced, the United States had 11, Canada had 2, Mexico had 3. On paper, nothing changed. But internally, new phrases began appearing in reports: broadcast optimization, climate scheduling, logistical balance. Those words signaled a shift: move a quarterfinal here, a semifinal there, reduce exposure to instability. You don't need an announcement, you don't need a fight. You simply move the spotlight. And when the spotlight moves, the center of the tournament moves with it. Canada's stability became more attractive. Mexico's experience became more valuable. America's unpredictability became a liability. No one said it out loud. They didn't need to. The payoff, what the World Cup now reveals. This is the part most people miss. The World Cup is not leaving the United States overnight. There will be no dramatic press conference, no official demotion. But something more subtle is happening. Confidence is shifting. And once confidence moves, it rarely comes back easily. The United States still has time to stabilize, to reassure, to show unity and competence. But time is no longer unlimited. Canada and Mexico don't need to attack America. They don't need headlines. They just need to keep doing what they're doing. Prepare quietly, deliver reliably, stay calm, because in global sports, the host that creates the least drama often wins the most trust. Trump's words opened a door he didn't intend to open, a door that revealed how fragile America's global image has become. The World Cup is a mirror, and in 2026, that mirror may reflect a different truth than the one America expected. So here's the real question for you. If FIFA had to choose today, not publicly but privately, who do you think they trust more? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to understand what this quiet shift means for the future of global sports, hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Because this story isn't over. It's just getting started.